This is going to be the oldest whiskey I've ever tried in my life. Hey guys, I'm Nath Martyn, the Whiskey Scribe. Taste is subjective, whiskey is diverse, and this channel is all about understanding it well enough to enjoy it on your own terms. Now this video is going to be a little bit quicker and simple than usual. It's my birthday, and I wanted to taste a really special whiskey on my birthday, so I'm just going to throw this one out there without too much editing, but I've been holding onto this whiskey sample that was shared with me from Jared. Now, if you don't have like a network of people who share whiskeys amongst each other, build one up. If you love whiskey, find a few people who like collecting whiskeys, but they really get a kick out of sharing it. Like, you know, they want you to try something that they like and they want to try something that you like and get to talk about that. Do that, because you can really access some special drams. And I sent a bunch of whiskeys out to Jared. Jared sent me back quite a few samples back. So one of the whiskeys that he sent me was a 52-year-old whiskey. Now this is going to be the oldest whiskey I've ever tried in my life. Until now, the oldest whiskey I've ever had was 45 years. So this is from Decadent Drams, blended grain Scotch whiskey, 52 years, 1972 to 2025, and it's bottled at 50.8%. But for now, in tasting this, I really just wanted to go in with minimal knowledge, taste the whiskey and see what I think. Because like I said, the oldest whiskey I've tried up until now was 45 years. Most of the age statements I've had were single malts, but when it comes to grain whiskeys, either single grain or even blended grain, they need more time, but when they reach that level, they can be amazing. So like a 30-year-old single grain whiskey can be absolutely beautiful, but when it's at that 15 to 20 year mark, it's just not ready yet. Try and pour this into the 1920s blender's glass to make the absolute most of it. I'm going to try to not spill a drop. Oh, perfect. And I've even got a little bit left to save. But let's just not run the risk of losing any of that. Now, when it comes to high age statement whiskies, the thing you've always got to factor in, oh wow. Okay, now straight off the bat, this has got really, really thick, slow running legs, which is absolutely beautiful. And that leads me to the point that when it comes to a high age statement whiskey, you don't just throw the same thing down that you would normally use for like your 5 or your 10-year-old whiskey and just leave it for longer. It's a conscious thought. If you're planning on aging a whiskey for 20, 30 or 40 years, you are having to factor in the fact that if you leave whiskey in a barrel for too long, it takes way too much of the oak character. So like if you think about like your 12-year-old Glenlivet, if you left that exact whiskey in the barrels initially put in and leave it for 30 years, after 30 years, it's going to be taking way too much of the wood character into the flavor, and drinking it is going to taste like matchsticks. So when they make an age statement, a really high age statement whiskey, at the day that they put it into a barrel, they thought to themselves, let's pop away one for the future. Let's take a barrel that has been used many, many times. So we're talking about 3rd, 4th, or even 5th fill bourbon casks. And that's where like it's taken so much of the flavor out of the barrel already. You're not getting lots of flavor from the barrel coming through. And that gives the spirit itself time to develop at a much slower, much longer rate. Now, they've also made a really oily whiskey here. So at this stage, I don't actually know which distilleries this came from, but there is so many natural oils in there that are going to help sort of like keep those flavors there in the glass. And it's still going to take notes from the barrel itself, but like I said, a much slower rate, which allows it to just, when you think about it, like we're talking about the difference between like an 18-hour slow cooked beef compared to something that you slapped in the frying pan for 5-10 minutes. They can both taste good, but the slow cooked beef tastes good on a different level. But the color on this one is really, really nice. I don't know if color's been added. I doubt you would add color to a 50-year-old whiskey. For anyone who's asking, I'm not turning 52, This is just a high age statement whiskey on my birthday. I've just turned 43. I'm not turning 52. Screw you. Let's nose this to start with. Most of my videos of late have been like exploring other countries. This is definitely a Scottish whiskey. So I'm getting like this really, really light sort of grain base. It's blended grain, so you're not expecting that same like high profile that you would get from a single malt. But it's developed, it's there. You're actually picking up some of the grain notes. There is this nice faint oak sort of flavor note coming through on the nose. And there's some sweetness. I don't know what barrels it's been aged in. Most of what I'm getting is vanilla. So I would say that this is just, like I said, a heavily used ex-bourbon cask. But I can't wait any longer. I'm gonna go in for a taste. Slange. So this is what time in the barrel does for a Scottish whiskey, when you plan it right. This is sweet. There's an element of honey in there, but it's not too sweet. There's some really, really wonderful oaky notes coming through, but it's not too oaky. There's some other earthy sort of notes. There's a bit of caramel, but it's not overdone. You almost have to look for it. There's even a faint element of char that I'm getting. It's not coming across like peat. It's not even coming across like smoke. It's just this very, very faint bit of char. But every single flavor that's in here is nicely balanced. They all work with each other. None of them are fighting for attention. And that's what age does. If you give the whiskey a chance to really, really age for a long time, it reaches this level of maturity, you know, when it's done right, where all the flavors just beautifully blend into each other. If you focus on those sweet sort of notes, you get the honey flavor. If you then turn your attention to the oak, you sort of transgress into the oak. It all works in much better harmony when a whiskey has been aged for longer. Now, you've got to do that right from the start. This is probably actually a really good analogy. I don't know whether people would say that I'm more balanced and harmonious in my age, but not everyone reaches like an older age and turns out well. We can make it to 40 and 50 and be much more balanced people where, you know, our outlook on things is more balanced. Or we can make it to older age and just be an arse, where we've just focused way too much on one thing. Hopefully people think I'm a little bit more balanced with my age, but this whiskey is beautifully balanced and I'm so glad I got to try it. So thank you very much, Jared, for sharing that with me. Yeah, that's wonderful. Like I said, this was gonna be a short video. I'm not gonna go into it too much. Really enjoying this whiskey. Yeah, don't be averse to a single grain or a blended grain whiskey if it's got a high age statement. Don't touch it if it's less than 20 years, it's not ready yet. But this compares to some of the aged scotches, some of the aged single malts that I've had. But yeah, enjoy what's in your glass, especially if it's your birthday.